There are some stories out there about you and Chelsea. What actually what actually happened?
Someone decided that I belong to them. People see 10% of what goes on a football. There were days where I didn't even want to turn up for training. I hate using the word depressed, but I was down. Sometimes you have teammates who are bullied, like who are unsupported, and they say things,
What kind of things were they saying?
Or like just negative things. Oh, why is this one even here? It's a cruel world.
On today's episode, we have an ex-footballer whose love and passion for the game have taken him on an incredible journey, from playing on local pitches in Nigeria to playing for different clubs and countries. His skill and his passion have left an incredible mark on the world of football. Welcome to the studio, Danny Uchechi.
Thank you very much.
So Danny, tell me, what was your journey like into playing professional football?
It's a long story, but I think the only way to sort of shorten it without taking out some of the best bits would be to say I'll probably just break it down in sort of phases.
Okay, so what's phase one?
So phase one I'd say was growing up in Nigeria, right? I think all I've always wanted to do was play football. I guess that's the only thing that we all did as kids. Where I was from, that was something that every child wanted to do, because that was our way out, escape, that there was nothing else to do. So it's either you played football or you were in school. There wasn't like basketball, there was none of those facilities. It was just football, because it was the one game that we could play out of anything. You could just get close together, bundle it with plastic, and then kick around. So growing up, I kind of just sort of, after school, that was the next best thing to do, and I did that all day because everyone else was doing it. And it became sort of second nature. I got amount of times I got in trouble just from playing football, not coming home from school. So that was phase one, I guess. And I think, I know that also the at the time we had, growing up, you had people like JJ Okocha to look out for, Kanu Wankwo, and all those times that they played. I could remember the Atlanta 96 and how that shaped football around us growing up as kids, because that was what everybody spoke about. I think that played a massive impact in my life in terms of wanting to be a footballer, and that's all I wanted to do. Now, you're from Nigeria, you understand that the opportunities for becoming a footballer aren't great because of the socio-economical state of the country. There isn't training facilities, not coaching. You don't get like pitches that are good enough for you to go out and play. So everything is make do. You played on tarmac, you played on hard court surfaces. So I think it was just watching football on TV and just seeing the joy that it brings to people. That was what drove us. I mean, certainly not in this day and age where it's all about the money or whatever it is that kids see that want to become footballers. At that particular time, it was a getaway for us. It was more like an escape from not having free square meals. That was what you did, because that just wowed away all the time, and all your worries was kind of taken away whilst you're playing with your friends. Obviously, I think I also count myself a bit blessed and lucky at the same time to have been found by the program, which was community action through sports.
How did that go?
And that was it was just me just playing for my school, and I played for my local on the 10s team. And then on the 11th, on the 12s, and there was this trial at the time. Apparently, there was this actual program was being held in a place called Surulere, and I was invited by one of the coaches who said you should go along. I think you'd get in, because it was a program that was geared towards education, but it was the emphasis was on through sports, like getting kids through sports, but. Throughout that whole process, one of the key things that stood out for us was that we were being given other life skills, like sort of like things like cooking, being able to sort of cut hair, so like a barber, that we had like a barber come teach us as kids how to cut hair, braid hair, make food, bake.
You were learning how to braid hair?
Well, I wasn't learning how to braid hair because that I couldn't even cut hair, not to talk about braiding. So, and then there was also the part where there was also the academical part, like English and maths, and thrown into the mix. I was, as a child growing up, I think not just me. I think my parents were quite academical in the sense that they wanted us to do well in school, right? As much as football was a thing that I wanted to do, my parents back then, not like now. Again, like I said, a lot of parents are embracing the fact that kids want to play football. Back then, my parents wanted me to go to school, and it didn't help that I was good at school. Because if I was terrible, then maybe they would have allowed me to play football. So it didn't help that I was one of the few kids that was blessed in school academically. So I think that sort of made my parents ensure that I actually just kept on going to school. And every time I spoke about football, to an extent, they let me do it because the coaches came home and told my parents how good I was. And that they would take me and then bring me back. To an extent, that gave them their assurance to let me do it because I did that. But 9 out of 10 times they wanted me to go to school. So
how did your parents' lives and your life change when you got accepted? When you got
I don't think anything changed at the time because there was no monetary or any sort of benefits that came with it.
Okay.
Immediately. It was just still me going there. I think in that, to an extent, that they probably had a bit of relief, I'll call it that way, in the sense that with the program, sometimes I was given some money to take home, right, for like transportation and stuff like that. And they didn't need to worry about that. But in terms of their lives, I don't think that really changed much because there wasn't any sort of, I didn't say benefit that came with going there, apart from the fact they know that I have been accepted to a program, which was good. That was the only part where I said that it kind of vindicated or justified all the football that I was playing, that, the British Council supported program that I was able to get in, which in turn was my ticket out of Nigeria because that's where I got a scholarship to actually come to England. So again, like I said, it's those phases. So coming to England under the scholarship, and now I got into the school. I was playing for the school team, St. Paul's Academy, and then all of a sudden I was invited to go to Charlton for a trial. That trial only lasted 2 days, and I was offered a contract. Albeit a youth contract under 14s, and that was it. Really, that was where the journey started. So yeah, it's literally like that. I mean, it's a longer version of it, but that's the short part of it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you played in English teams, and you've played like for Super Eagles. You played for Nigeria. Is there really a difference between African football and English football?
Okay, I didn't get to play for the Super Eagles, but obviously I played for Flying Eagles and the Dream Team under 23s as well, being captain. But to answer your question, yes, there's a massive difference. Let's not sugarcoat it. The organisation, the facilities, the support that kids get or the teams or players get, the welfare. There's this little things that make you better as a footballer. Now, I say there's a difference because when you go back home, when I say go back home, when you go to Africa, kids are told to train sometimes 3 times a day, right? Or twice, let's just say twice a day in 35, 40 degrees heat. They are not well fed, but they're still expected to turn up and train properly. When they pick up injuries, they're not well treated. You have to look after yourself. Now,
so you mean their treatment's not paid for?
Of course, it's not paid for. Even if who's going to pay for you? They haven't even paid your salary to pay you, to pay for your treatment. So now there are a number of reasons why the football and here in England and back in Africa cannot be compared. Maybe places like South Africa, maybe they have a better league system than most of. But if I was to speak specifically for Nigeria as a country, it's terrible. They're backwards. I don't believe anything is being done. Whatever people say is all on face value. Nothing really gets done because I do still speak to a couple players who trialed for the under 23s or under 20s, and some people I do speak to who actually are playing football back in Nigeria. It's still the same thing. Nothing's changed. All right. Players' welfare is the least of any club's problems. Players are not well looked after. Club presidents pretend or think that they're doing a good job, or club owners say they're spending money, but spending money on what and on who, right? They leave this administration of football to people who don't actually care about the welfare of players. They just care about how much they're going to make. So in that respect, there's no way you're going to get the best out of players. It's impossible. You're not going to get there because they're human beings. You get what you put out of them. Put into them is what you get out. You can't tell somebody who's eating once a day to do the same thing that kids here. When you become a professional football, you've got physios, not physios.
Thank you for making it this far in the video. We really appreciate you for watching. If you have an inspirational story that you'd like us to share on our podcast, please drop us an email. Our email can be found in the description below.
Yeah, so in terms of the welfare of the kids, like I said, some clubs would have steam rooms or swimming pools and things like that. So now you can't compare that to Nigeria in any shape or form. It's impossible. Now even with the coaching system from under 12, there's a system that allows players to grow. There's updated training that the coaches go, CPDs, UEFA B, UEFA A. Some of the coaches we have have been coaches who don't actually know the updates with what the trainings are nowadays. So it's difficult. What we have is talent, right? And you know that what we have is potential, but that's exactly what it will remain, potential and talent. A talent that is not groomed well and not trained properly, that's not harnessed properly, it's just going to remain that potential. And that's what we do, and that's where we fall short of what we're doing back home. And I think until that changes, until there's an emphasis on structure and the organization of actually looking at how to better the welfare of players, it's for me it's quite difficult to compare Nigeria with what's been done in the West, not just England as a whole. Again, like I said, the talent, in terms of talent, of course, I believe we've got a lot more talent than a lot of places, right? There's so much talent. There's so much JJ Okochas, DJ Drogbas, so much Kanu Nwankwos in there that can still be unearthed. But as it is right now, it's just one of those ones where you don't know where they're going to come from, because it's like 1 in a million, really, or even more than that, even less than that, that would come out of the country because they get given the opportunity to be seen. But for everyone that is seen, there's 20 more that are just there lavishing away. And that's the problem. I can't state it well enough in the sense that it's a problem which is already crippling, and it's affecting football players and the way Nigerian footballers are looked at, because to an extent Nigerian footballers are a dying breed just because there's no platform to showcase those talents, right?
Speaking of problems affecting Nigerian footballers, what do you think about corruption in African football, Nigerian football? Is it still an existing problem? The way
this is a hot topic, I guess. I mean, the problem is I'll try and be as diplomatic as I can.
Have you ever experienced corruption?
Can you imagine? Listen, there are different ways to say it, but the long shot of it is, again, as I mentioned before, it's structures and organizational sort of shortcomings that are causing a lot of this. There are behind everything that happens, there is always, there's causes and reasons why things happen, right? For every effect, there's a cause, right? And the problem is, I'll take it from the bottom. So you say there's corruption, like with people want to say that there's corruption with the local coaches because they have to ask for money to take players in, blah, 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 blah. Now, these coaches are not paid properly, right? You put a coach into place from the local, get a local coach and put him in a national team and ask him to oversee a national team. And you haven't paid the coach for a year. But yeah, you expect him to do a great job. So basically, you've put people in positions where they'd have to find a way to survive. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying what the coaches would do or are doing is the right way to go about things. But the authorities have to look at what's being done to those coaches because they have got family. They have to feed themselves. So what do? They start asking for players for money. Now, what then happens is they see that there's so much money they can make from players, and you have agents who want their players in the national team, whether they're good enough or not, and are willing to pay any amount of money. Now, as much as you want someone to be very honest and work with integrity, but if you already compromise them, put them in a compromising position by not even paying them, you literally are. It's literally a rock and a hard place. You're putting them between a rock and a hard place. Do they do their job diligently, which they might get sacked anyway if they qualify or they don't qualify, or should they just take as much as they can from the players? So whether they make it or not, they get sacked or not, you don't pay them, they are looking after themselves and their families. So again, like I said, it's this sort of little scenarios that you look at and say, okay, how do we mitigate these circumstances? Pay the coaches properly, put them in a place where they're not going to compromise what they're there for. So they're there to coach players or to bring out the best of players. You pay them properly and they would actually know that, you know what, I'm being paid well enough to do my job. I don't need anybody giving me money to come into my team. And then they can call the bluff of those agents to say, no, I don't need your money. I want the best players. To let your player come on trial, just like everybody else. Or we actually put in a scouting system to pick out players, which is what most countries do, like the Western countries do. There are scouts that go to clubs. Now, again, like I said, there's a massive structure that needs to be put in place in Nigeria to make things work the way it should work, right? From grassroots to the professional leagues. How do you scout players? How? There's a camp, agents who throw names, or coaches, I know this player. No. If there's a proper system, a scouting system, paid scouts to go to the national leagues and watch the games and pick out the best players. You're trying to tell me that we haven't got good players in the whole of the Nigerian league, but that's the problem. Wow. Because there isn't a system. There has to be a system that's put in place to make this work. Without that system,
no one will be able to bribe.
That's what I'm saying. So without the system, then there's a problem. So you need a system that would make everything work. So if you look at the English system, that's why things work, not just the English system. You look at the European system, even to the American system, they have a system and it works. So we need to look at these systems and say, okay, how do we do this? Organizing our sort of grassroots football to our professional league, to infrastructure, maintaining infrastructure, because we're very good at saying we want to build, but there's no maintenance. That's the crux of all of this. Maintaining this, and then that would now give kids on the street, kids growing up thinking, oh, there's something to actually look at and be like, oh, you know what, this is something I aspire to, because there are stadiums to go watch games. I don't know how many kids have seen any Nigerian league clubs play. Don't know. So how do we now talk about our football if the basic way of actually capturing these players, we can't even set that up?
I think that leads me to another question. Why is it that I see so many Nigerians and they're obsessed with, Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, but they're not really obsessed with Nigeria teams?
Have they seen them play? That's the question. What stadium would you go and watch a Nigerian team play?
I can't even answer.
Well, exactly. So that's the problem. So it's easy. It's easier said than done. The reason why they can shout at these clubs because it's thrown in their faces. Our media stream English football. Do they stream Nigerian football? Do the organizations, the companies back in Nigeria back the streaming of the football that we play in Nigeria?
Yeah.
Is that why would you even watch it anyway? Because the pitches are terrible. No one would want to watch that. So until we get that correct, this is what I'm trying to say, that, we have our football facilitators or administrators running around in Europe and the rest of the world for positions and trying to, sort of be even more famous than the footballers themselves. They're forgetting the fundamentals of what actually would make it. I'd like to see somebody, with the right backing, turn up and say, do you know what? Let's turn this whole thing's upside down. Let's start from the bottom. Let's create a system that works. Because that's a legacy that would actually last longer than what they do now. Everyone trying to clamor for political or some positions in FIFA or CAF or anywhere else, rather than actually saying, you know what, we need to turn this whole footballing system upside down and start from scratch. Have a structure of how we want our football to look in 15 years. It's not going to be in a day. It's not going to happen in a year or 2 years. Have a roadmap for 10 years and see what that's like. But stick at it, because it's not going to be easy. Wow. So it's things like that needs to be spoken about. And let people who actually played football, who actually understand football, do it. Because again, I find out that some of the ex-players I think they're just running around doing the wrong things, to be honest with you, if you ask me, because I think they could do a lot more. But again, like I said, are they allowed to do it? Because our country, as we know, is notorious for putting a blocker on people succeeding at anything that they try to do that makes sense. So if you're not running with the right crowd, when I say the right crowd, the wrong crowd, then you're not allowed to do anything. So, and that for me is the biggest issue I find.
Wow. This conversation is getting a bit sad. Let me try and change the questions a bit, make things a bit happier. So what did you think about Afcon?
I didn't watch it.
Hmm?
Yeah, that's just the honest truth.
You didn't watch Nigeria play?
No, I watched about 10 minutes in the first half and that was it for the final.
Why?
Because it was terrible. But yeah, I just think it was terrible.
You didn't watch the semi-finals and the final?
No. After the I think it was the second game. I think I watched about 25 minutes of that and then 10 minutes of the final. And that was it, really.
Oh, why did you think it was terrible? Because I even thought Nigeria could win. So.
But it was terrible.
How? You're an expert in this.
No, it's not like I'm an expert. It's
so
just,
tell me how.
Okay, I couldn't tell you at any particular time in that 25 minutes that I enjoyed the football that was being played. As someone who's played football, I'd like to think I like good football, right? I don't think Nigeria was fun to watch. I didn't think the 25 minutes I watched was fun to watch. And the 10 minutes I saw in the final was worse than the 25 minutes I watched of the second game. So, in all honesty, I'm struggling to actually see why. I mean, don't get me wrong. Do I like some of the players? Yes, but not for Nigeria.
Why?
In the individual clubs, yes, maybe, but not for Nigeria. Just the way we were set up. We were set up like a team that was scared to go and play football. So I don't see how fun that is. I can't remember watching any Nigerian team that absorbed pressure. We brought pressure. That's what Nigeria is known for. We play football. We keep the ball. We've never known to sit and play on a counter-attack. So it was terrible.
But if you don't think we were that good, how did we get to the finals?
Oh, we're lucky. It doesn't take rocket science. We worked hard to get to the final. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I take it back. I wouldn't say lucky. They worked hard for it, right? But it was ugly. It's like it was ugly. If you are a lover of football, you would not appreciate that. It's not all about.
Some people did criticize it.
Oh yeah,
online.
yeah. You would not. If you love football and if you saw the way Nigeria played of old, like you would understand what I mean. Like that wasn't. It's sometimes it's I think how you win also matters. Right, how you win also matters. It's not just we won, but how you win also matters. And I think that's the difference with some of the best teams. It's like Manchester City. I'll take that as an example. They are probably would say like every club supporter would be like, yeah, our club won, blah 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 blah. But I think everyone who's watched City play would say they probably have been one of the best footballing teams in England in a long time because of the way they play, and they win. So it shows that you can play good football and still win, right? So Nigeria had never played like Nigeria. We played the way Togo would play, and Togo is my other country as well. I'm half Togolese, but yeah, we played we literally just defended to hit teams on a counter attack. I remember when you said Nigeria was playing any team, it was the other team already lost before we got to the pitch. But right now, it's like you're playing Nigeria, we're sat back defending. And for me, I felt it was detrimental to the attributes of some of our players that we had. It made them look like they couldn't play football, which was sad because, again, it goes back to what I'm saying about structure and organization. If that was the West or any other countries, what would happen is they'd look at the players. There will be a recruitment team that will look at the type of players that they have, what type of manager profile will suit the country, how do we want to play our football, and that's the type of manager we'll go for. But in Nigeria, I don't know the process, so I'm not going to sit here. I'm bite my lip and just pretend I don't know what's going on.
That's probably why you stopped watching.
Oh yeah. I don't know what the process, what goes through their head for recruiting a manager. I don't know what goes through their head. I do have an idea, but I don't know. I'm not going to say on here because I don't understand. Like you have the wealth of talent that we have, and you decide to bring a coach that plays counter-attacking football, or should I call it defensive football? How? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. So that's why, again, like I said, that's why I didn't watch any of the football anyway. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what's it like being a footballer? How did you feel the first time you walked on a pitch and had everyone cheering?
I think, don't get me wrong, I didn't achieve the heights that I would have loved to. But the little I did, I'd say that till now I still say to friends and family, like, it's probably one of the best feelings to have is walking onto the pitch and getting your name chanted, or just scoring a goal and the whole stadium's rocking just because they scored a goal. It's like having all of these people scream because you did something that puts a smile on their face, right? The adrenaline that you get from that, the buzz is amazing. You can't replicate it. There's no words for it, and you just want to do it over and over again. And I think it can be quite addictive, and I can see why some footballers struggle to leave the game, right? It's something you feed off of that energy, and the same way you feed off that energy when it's negative as well, you feed off of it as well. It affects you as much as when you're doing it and it's all good, you get a buzz from it. You do also get affected from it when it's negative. When people be like, oh, why is he depressed? Why are you letting what people say get to you? Yeah, it will get to you just the same way the admiration and the applause is from people elates you. The same way this would also get you down. So it's a crazy life.
Have you ever had that experience where people were saying negative things about
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Can you share one of those with us?
There was a period for me when, again, I'm just going to cut this story short because the full version is going to come out on my podcast. So I'm going to cut this short. But there was a story. There was an incident that happened. So with me, so I was at Sheffield Wednesday at the time, and obviously I was not gonna lie, it was one of the worst times of my life. There were days where I didn't even want to turn up for training. Just I was that depressed. Oh, let me not use that. I hate using the word depressed, but I was that low.
Why? What happened?
Because I kept picking up injuries. Like I don't think I had 6 weeks where I was fit. Yeah, for some reason I don't know why. But again, like I said, a lot of people don't know this stuff, but because people only see what they see on the internet or what they hear, right? So I had this period in time where I even when I went to the national team, it was the same thing. I had a period where I turned up for camp and I tore my quadriceps the day first training session, and I was in that camp for like 6 weeks trying to get myself fit for the World Cup for the under-20s. So it's one of those things that it just grinds at the back of your head, and you kind of feel like you're useless. And then sometimes you have teammates who are bullies, like who are unsupportive, like people who they're just jealous of. And the only way they can show that is they wait for your downfall to kind of show that. And they say things, and you hear things like that, and it just makes you feel, like just negative things. Oh, why is this one even here? Like, like he's not played a game since he's been here. Yeah, it's a cruel world. It's a cruel world. As nice as it is, it's a cruel world. But like I said to you, it's one of those things where, and in the back of your head, you either take it on face value or you try to prove them wrong. All I tried to do was like, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. But it's like your head is telling you something else and your body is doing something else. It's like you go on and then you break a muscle and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm back to square one again. And so things like that, you kind of just, it takes a toll on you the more you get yourself into those positions, right? Especially when you're out there trying to prove yourself. Like, if you've achieved a lot already, it's a different ball game because there's a track record. There's something there for you to fall back on. But as a young footballer, as a young player trying to make a name for yourself, it can be detrimental because that's all you see. It just feels like the world is against you. That's the feeling you get. But yeah, like I said, it's a contrasting feeling. Then you go to the World Cup and then you're playing well and you score, or you're playing against these teams and stuff like that. And then it's a different feeling. It's a very, very good feeling. And then you lose. And then it's a back to square one feeling. It's like the world's finished again. So, it's a roller coaster of emotions, the world of football. I think people see, what people see is possibly 10% of what goes on a football that they just see. The 90% of it is behind the scenes. The 10% is what the people see on screen, is the actual playing on the game, stuff like that. But the most difficult part, the trainings, the mental aspect of it, the dealing with people, different types of people, by the way, coaches, weird and wonderful coaches, different types. That is all behind the scene, and I think for me that's kind of I wouldn't say it's put a negative spin on it, but it's kind of guided the way I let my son, because my son is 11 now and all he wants to do is play football. So I think that has helped me, I've used that experience to try and make sure that I not slow him down, but guide him rightly. Initially, I didn't want him to do anything with football. Like I wanted him to play volleyball, table tennis.
But you love football so much, so why wouldn't you want your son to do football?
Yeah, I love the art of playing football, but I don't love everything else that comes with it. So there's a difference, right? They all go hand in hand because you have to deal with those stuff. But I don't like the idea of my son having to go through what I went through. So I love the fact that he wanted to play football, but I didn't. When I remember the things I had to go through, things I had to fight, the battles I had to fight, I'm wondering, do I want my son in that environment? And, like people who haven't been in football, everyone seems to want their kids to play football. And I speak to them, my son's going to be a footballer. Sometimes I look at them, I'm like, are you even sure? Are you sure you want your son playing football? Like, I've seen kids that's messed up. Football's messed up. They never recovered from it. You've heard the story of kids committing suicide from it. So I've seen, but parents just see the glory rather than understanding that there's a lot more in the world of football. A lot goes on, than what they see on TV. So,
what was your worst experience?
Yeah, I'm
football?
not saying that on here.
Okay, let me rephrase that. What was your most difficult challenge to overcome playing football?
There's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of challenge in playing football. And again, like I said, in different aspects of your life, you get to deal with different challenges, right? You deal, again, like I said, there was weird and wonderful people in football. Some are very nefarious. There are people, I've had experiences that are just, I just think they're sad experiences that kids shouldn't go through. Like you have really, really, really people who shouldn't working with kids. Just put it that way. Like it's just ulterior motives in handling kids and stuff like that. And you think about it and you're wondering, it's like, how did they get away with it, right? And it's like I said, I mean, for everyone that gets caught, there's thousands or hundreds of them out there that do all of this stuff. So some of these experiences is things that you think about, and I just like, it made me overprotective of my son going into that world, because I just felt like, because there are times I'm not going to be there. How is he going to cope, right? But I guess I can't project my fears onto him. I just have to find a way to make sure that he knows that he can speak to me anytime, So that's why I stopped even coaching him, because I don't want to bring any sort of barriers between myself and him. So I want someone else to do the coaching, and then I'm just a father to him, and he can seek guidance or advice. Because when I tried to coach him, I found myself screaming at him and wanting to kick him because he couldn't do the simplest things. So I just felt like that would just bring some sort of tensions between us. So I kind of just backed away from that and let someone else do that for him. So I know I danced around your question, but it's a story for another day.
Listening to you, like, I've always thought football was so glorious.
Yeah.
Money, fame, everything. But
I think that's what everybody says.
Yeah, I've never heard it sound like this before.
Yeah. That's if footballers would be truthful to you, there's a dark side to football. I guess just like every other high profile sports or entertainment in the industry, there are the dark sides of it. Again, people see what they want to see. But if footballers wanted to be candid and speak about the things that go on or the experiences, it's not all going to be all glory and fame and shiny and money and stuff like that. Like, the money's good, the people you meet, it's good. You get to meet places, you get to meet people in different places, you get to meet different individuals, like really good places. You get to go to places that you would ordinarily not be. So I think that those are the plus sides, the positive sides of it. You get to, sort of meet good friends, make friends that you would ordinarily not make. But again, like I said, there are the sinister side of it as well, especially, not just the mental side. There are things that could sort of, if you don't have the right people around you, that could actually affect not just performance, but your whole mental well-being as well. So, as much as the money's there, it's good, but a lot more goes into it than that.
I think a question I've always had in my mind is, how do footballers deal with, like when you score and stuff, there's so much, everyone's cheering your name. But then when you don't score, when you mess up, how do footballers deal with that bullying online? Because these days, there's so much, people have so much access online to write so much crap about people.
Well, I wouldn't know because I'm not online. So I wouldn't know.
You're not on social media?
Oh, no.
Why?
Why do I need to be? Don't have to be.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't, what am I doing there?
So you're not interested in knowing what people think about you, or...
Why? They don't feed me.
Wow.
What? I don't understand. Why do I need to know what someone thinks about me? It makes no difference to me. what they think, because ultimately, for me, I think I've always been of that sort of mindset. I think my dad's always had this whole separatist mentality.
So you've never gone on Twitter to just check
and do what?
What people are saying?
No, I have no interest. My business is just to go do what I need to do and get out. I've whatever I get in terms of media has always been sent to me by friends. Like, oh, have you seen this? Blah blah blah. Like, I don't know whatever is being said is being said. It's not my business, because one thing you can't do is stop people from talking, right? And especially people who don't know you talk the most. But the people who know you, they know you. So for me, I think I keep a close knit of friends, and they know me, I know them, and that's all I need. Like, literally, if you want to call me a cop,
you need to have my number.
Then if I'm a cop in your eyes, then I remain a cop. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
I don't have to hear it.
Wow.
So
what was it like playing for the Premier League? Is it really all that it's made out to be?
If you play in the Premier League, I mean, again, my experience of the Premier League was at Charlton. Being around the first team and the players, and that on its own was glorious. That just being around it, right? So I would imagine if you played, then it would be ridiculous. Then, but again, it's one of those things that I think there's the emphasis on that in terms of where you. I think as a footballer, it's the epitome of where you want to play. It's the Premier League, or the Champions League or stuff like that. But if you're in the league, you want to be in the Premier League. That's what every child dreams to be playing. And that's in the Premier League. And then when you get there, you want to be in the Champions League and then the World Cup and all of that stuff. But I guess the Champions League, the Premier League, if you play the Premier League, then ultimately you'd have said you've made it, right? You made it, because that is the highest ceiling in league football that you want to play. The Premier League is one of the best leagues in the world, probably one of the most watched leagues, if not the most watched league in the world, leagues in the world. And it would be something, I don't know how you can describe it, but I guess when you get there, then you're looking for the next best thing, because you've done it, right? It's just like the crown jewel for every player, like wanting to play in the Premier League. Even players from other leagues want to come and play in the Premier League, because everybody sees it as the epitome of league football. So how did it feel for you? What was it like? Okay, for me, having not played in the Premier League, but being around the Premier League. So this one time we played against Man United, and it was at Charlton at the time. I think this is the times where Cristiano was quite young, and at this particular game, I was in the changing room, and I watched Cristiano come out of the changing room, and I thought, oh my God, we watched this guy on the TV, and we're right here. And then I was like, I'm not easily, starstruck, but it's one of those things where like, it's Cristiano, it is. And then you're thinking, I'm going to play against these people one day. And that's the dream. You want to play against people like that, because that's the hype that everybody wants to. You watch them on TV every week. They're the example. They're the template. That's what you need to be like. So for me, just being around it was amazing. It was a dream come true. It made me actually want to become more of a footballer just being there, right? So I that feeling, I can't forget that. Now, I played at Old Trafford. At FA Youth Cup against Man United. This was at actual Old Trafford. Now, not being a Premier League, just standing at Old Trafford in the middle of the pitch and looking up and thinking, this is the theatre of dreams, and we're standing right in it. I was like, imagine what this would be like with 80,000 people in it.
Wow.
It'd be ridiculous. So I could only imagine how that would be with 80,000 people at Old Trafford. But, those experiences that I had, those interactions I had was amazing. It was amazing. So for me, I was very, very, Words can't describe it because you just feel this butterfly that goes in your stomach, and it's just.
Did you ever say anything to Cristiano, by the way?
Oh no, never.
You just stared.
Yeah, just stared. Yeah.
Okay, so what were your most fond moments in football?
Captaining Nigeria at the Under-20s World Cup.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. Played in Egypt, scoring against Germany in our quarterfinals. We lost anyway, but yeah, scoring against Germany and in the stadium that was packed in Egypt, and that was amazing feeling. And when I won the MVP for an invitational tournament for under-23s in 2008 in Malaysia, that was again. I loved that because that was my first call up to the national team, and albeit to the under-23s, to the Olympics team, and we went to this tournament, and that was the first time I actually turned up for the national team, and getting the MVP of the tournament was amazing. I got the player of the tournament,
Wow.
and then even getting to the team for the Olympics qualifiers as well, team the African CAF team of the tournament as well.
Wow.
So. Yeah, there have been little moments that I've enjoyed in football.
Just seeing the way your face lights up.
Yeah, there has been little moments I've enjoyed, which it's one of those things when I look back on them with fond memories, right? So yeah, I can't complain about them.
But you still play football even now.
Yeah, but I play semi-professionally, not professional football.
You've not been able to let go of it. You just
no. It's not because I can't let go. It's all I know to do, right? And now playing semi-professionally allows me to control how much exertion I put on my body. So I got diagnosed with discrepancy with my legs. So I had like a 1.5 inches discrepancy between my left and right foot. And I was told that was messing up my mechanics, and that's why I kept picking up injuries. So with less training, training once or twice a week and playing on Saturdays, I can manage how much injuries I pick up now. So I still can play, but it's just life is taking over, so I've got other things that I'm doing, which I'm enjoying at the same time.
Like family.
Family as well, the businesses. So I'm good in the sense that, I'm happy with the amount of time that I can put in. So I can't commit to full-time football anyway. That's impossible right now. So I'll leave that for my son if he still wants to do it, and that's what he wants to do to achieve that. So now I'm just enjoying it. The football is the only thing I've known doing. I know to do since I was a little child. So even as long as God gives me health and I can walk, I will be playing football until I run out of steam. I will be playing football in any capacity, in any way, form or shape, right? So playing it semi-professionally now just allows me, the opportunity to still play competitively, but not full-time. So that way, I kind of manage my body and the injuries that I used to pick up. So now yes, now and again, but by God's grace, I haven't been injured in a while. So I just manage it that way. So it's easier for me.
If you could go back in time, what do you think you'd do differently in football?
Yeah, there's a few things to do. There's always there's always when you look back on things, hindsight's a beautiful thing. There are always amendments or should I put it, course adjustments that you could make. I possibly would have turned down a few contracts that I took.
Like what?
No, yeah, that's secret. Skip that. Let's keep that. Yeah, let's keep that for it. Let's keep that. Yeah. I possibly would have turned down a few contracts and taken other ones that I turned down. Because then that would have led to a different path that probably would have given me the opportunity to grow differently. And I think in general, to be honest with you, a lot of the reasons why I possibly, I'm not going to make excuses or whatever it is that my career didn't go the way it should go, was down to me not, which is not unique in my case, in the sense that it's not unique for me. Some people didn't even make it as far as I did.
Yeah.
But in terms of which, looking back now, we when I say we, my teams, my agents and everybody in family, we know where things could have gone differently. So if I carried on at Charlton, when I was at Charlton, if I had the opportunity to do that and play for Charlton at the time, I think my career would have been different, based on the fact that, which is nobody's fault, it's just red tape. I didn't have the work permit to play for Charlton when they offered me a contract. So I had 3 years where I didn't play no football. So I think that kind of affected the trajectory of where I was supposed to be, or how my career went anyway. So looking at that in hindsight, like I said, as long as I was born in Nigeria, that would have still been the case. So that was so if you ask me, what could I have done different, I think first and foremost,
not born in Nigeria.
Exactly. First and foremost, I'd have had to have been born here.
What was the issue about the work permit?
So it's just one of those things where you already know you can't really work in this country without having a work permit to work here. So being a student, it was different. So I couldn't play football, professional football, without a work permit. So there was just issues around securing those that work permit. So that meant that I couldn't play football, even though I had a contract offered to me. So I couldn't play until that was resolved. So it took about 3 years to resolve that.
3 years of not
playing.
playing.
Of not playing. Yeah, competitive football. And then you're coming back to try and compete with people who've been playing the Championship and the Premier League, and then with other extenuating circumstances. It just meant
How did that affect you?
It wasn't easy, not gonna lie, mentally. And like I said, and that's why I said that when people don't know the full story, they talk differently, right? That took its own toll, right? But like I said, it's one of those things you either sit back and wallow in pity, or you just take it as one of life's lemons and make a lemonade, right? So it's that's all I've done with it, is make a lemonade from one of the lemons that life threw at me. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there are some stories out there about you and Chelsea. What actually happened?
Oh gosh. So that story went this way. When I was at Charlton, I played. So we played against Chelsea. I'll never remember. That's one of my fondest memories as well. We played at Cobham. I think it was Cobham, if I'm not mistaken, or possibly if there was another ground for Chelsea before Cobham, but maybe it's at Cobham. So we played. I knew Chelsea's ground. We played a game. Well, I couldn't forget it. It was I think it was a rainy and windy. We played this game, and so I don't know what was going through my head. It was a bit windy. I thought to myself, yeah, it's Chelsea. We've got to beat Chelsea. I was playing up front. I think it was on the 15s or 14s or 15s, I think it was. And halfway line, just as we were about to kick off, I looked up and the keeper was ice goal. I looked at my shirt, the wind was blowing that way. I thought, I can reach this. As soon as the referee blew, I told my teammate, don't touch the ball. As soon as the referee blew, I just turned around, just spun and just smacked the ball. And yeah, the keeper was everyone was baffled what I did, and the ball just sailed over the keeper's head and went into the goal. I was like, yes. So that game, I think I scored about 2 or 3 goals.
Wow.
So after that, I think that was where the interest started coming, and then I went to district football. I was playing for Bromley District. I was playing for Bromley District. Yeah, I was playing for Bromley District, or was it Kent? I think it was Bromley District I was playing for. And then after the game, he one of the Chelsea scout came and said, "Listen, can you get your family to give us a call?" No, they said, "Oh, are you here with your parents?" So I was like, "No." I was like, "Okay, they give me a card so when you get home, give your family the card to give you a call." And then I took it home at the time to my guardian who I was with, and a couple days or so later, and John Shitu, Mikel's agent, came to the house.
Wow.
And yeah, long story short, they wanted me at the time. But yeah, again, we shall hear it from my podcast.
Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. So what happened? Tell us. Come on, tell us. Don't do that.
Nah, long story short.
So drawn in.
Yeah, long story short, it just didn't materialize. So there was some issues with the agent that he didn't want John Chi to do the deal because he wants to do the deal, and it was just messy. Messy. Yeah, it was it was just messy, and that deal fell apart because of, again, the nefarious people in football that I mentioned earlier, because people became greedy. Someone decided that I belonged to them, and that no one else should eat from whatever money that came through, even though I was 14, for crying out loud. So I was considered a piece of meat. So yeah.
And you couldn't do anything.
I couldn't do anything. Well, to be honest with you, at that time I didn't think anything of it because I was 14. I just enjoyed my football. That was not my business. Like that, I wasn't really concerned. Literally, I was convinced that I was going to play for Real Madrid, by the way, just so you know. At that age, like, there was no stopping. Like, I didn't have any doubt that I was going to play football, or like, I just felt like things were going to fall into place. Like, I never really, that's why I said, knowing what I know now, a lot of things could have been different. But then again, like I said, a lot of things would have had to be different for the outcome to have been different. So the only advice I'd say is for parents to kind of just pay attention to their kids and try and be involved in decisions that are being made for their kids. So
yeah, I was just about to say, maybe if your parents were there.
Yeah, I think it would have been different.
Yeah, because they'd have your best interest.
100%. Yeah, it would have been different.
They
so
won't be just thinking
a
about
lot would have been different if I had the right people around me. So I think that was the biggest challenge.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really dealt with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's life.
But you're always smiling. Why?
When people say that, I'm like, what should I do? Have a frown on my face? Like, no. It's life. Everyone deals with stuff. I look at it this way. Like, I'm still in a better position than a lot of people, right? It's just one of those things. I'm still in a very good position. I mean, like I said, in spite of everything that's happened, I am grateful. I've got a great life, great family. Like, I'm grateful that the places I've been at has shaped where I am today. So, and I can only be grateful for the positions and the people I've met and where I am.
So, this individual who thought they owned you, was it the person that brought you to the UK?
No, he didn't bring me to the UK. That was the person my guardian that was entrusted to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was how that one played out.
Wow.
Yeah.
But how did you finally get out of that relationship?
I guess, like all things, there's always a season for everything, right? It wasn't, again, like as I said, there's a lot to it which, you know, as you're aware, I would elaborate more on in the future. But it was one of those ones where I felt, again, this is what people talk about, I wouldn't call it human trafficking, but child labor and things like that. People talk about all of this stuff. There's different forms of it, right? As human beings, especially from the community we come from the part of the world we come from, there are entitled individuals who, for one shape or form, feel like they own you, which shouldn't be the case. And for that reason, they go out their way to do things that they shouldn't even do. And that's kind of what I found. Again, like, it wasn't just towards me. There were other people. There was about three or four of us that happened to. Again, it's one of those things where it goes back to what I say: if you don't know, you don't understand. So I've got 3 other people that similar situations happened to, and that impeded or impacted in their lives as well. And I'm sure for the story of the 4 of us, I'm sure there are thousands more as well that's happened to, that wouldn't have this sort of space to, air their views or their experiences of what's happened. So I think it's my mission. I have a goal to. I have this plan, which is in motion, to show people from our part of the world how things should be done, how to cater and look out for the welfare of emerging talents, especially from less privileged homes. Since we don't have that structure at home, we could start as individuals by showing people how things can be done. Hopefully, when 1, 2, 3 people start doing it, it would filter through to the whole of the nation. So I have plans to do that. But again, it's these are things that are in the pipeline. So with just currently we're trying to seek for funding to try and get that off the ground. So facilities that would try and help kids, young teenagers into football and around the world,
and not get exploited.
Exactly, with the emphasis on carrying their families along the process and making sure that everything that is done with them in mind as well. Because I think for me, that would help them blossom, having the support of family, and having the right support, the right people, the right guidance. Because you hear people say it a lot, but then when it comes down to it, people, I think, put their stomachs first before, doing the right thing. So,
because I'm just imagining all the money you were making there, was it going to this individual then?
Oh yeah, but he would probably still say it wasn't enough, and then you wonder, like, what do you want? Like, what else do you want? So it's it's a catch-22. But then again, and I don't want to use this medium to give this particular person the time and day, because in the midst of that, you also had some really amazing people. Like my so the school I went to, now McCann, his name, he was the head of PE department at the school. He really took, like, literally, I remember coming to school one day, I was so hungry and I hadn't eaten, and now I was like, and I said to him, I think we had PE, we had football, and I said I was hungry, and he's like, haven't you eaten? I was like, nope, I ain't eaten.
You didn't eat at home?
Nah, there's no food to eat.
How's there no food to eat?
Yeah, don't ask me that.
For a football?
Yeah, it is. So I went back home, I went to school, and then he took me to school and then got me on the school dinners, and that was how I started eating at school. So literally my best meal usually was at school. So, and now literally just took me in his own. And when you hear it now, you think, he's some African person. No, but he wasn't. Now was actually Irish. It's the most Irish person you'd ever meet. And then he took me to him now and his wife Colin. They really were great people. He bought me my first phone. He bought me my first He gave me the first PlayStation. Actually bought me my prom dress, my prom clothes, a shirt, trouser, and shoes for prom. All of that was from Now, and I was thinking, I owed the guy a lot, because he showed me, so much love and care at the time. And you'd think that if anything, he would be the one person that would be like, I want something or something like that. But he was an amazing person. So he's one person that I'd never forget in my life. So because of him now, when people ask me, I say I'm from Ireland, from County Fermanagh. So I'm Irish as well, in case you're wondering. Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes in the midst of these battles that you fight, you get to meet some wonderful people, and you get to meet people that show you light, and yeah, it's a journey. Like I said, it's a wonderful journey that I've been on. One with its ups and downs and stuff like that. So, yeah, many more stories where that came from.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
but
just,
yeah,
I'm just shocked at how, with everything you've been through, you're just so. You seem so peaceful, so happy.
do you know what? I am peaceful because
it takes a lot of mental.
yeah, I think I have overcame the hardest bits. When it was happening, it was hard, but I think you get to a stage where I think as soon as I started having kids, I think my perspective started changing, and I kind of started dealing with those demons, if I put it that way, right? It's again, like I said, I credit a lot of it to obviously being born in a Christian home, the faith, right? Just having faith and believing that there's a higher calling from God in my life. There's that path that was already laid. And I believe that, again, there's this famous saying that says there are so many ways to skin a cat, right? You can be as famous and you can be as rich as you want to. You don't have to be a footballer to do that. There are so many rich people who never touch football pitch. So many famous people who can't kick a ball. So I think it's having that perspective and realizing that we are blessed with so many tools within our riches, and knowing where to, just focus your attention and energy to, right? And kind of having the right support again, with my wife, with my parents, my brothers, like friends around, and like the right people, that you speak to. Yeah, it's amazing.
You must have a lot of love around you.
Yeah, currently I do. Sometimes in the middle of all of these things, it's easy to forget the people around you, and you focus on something that should have been or could have been rather than what is. So I think it's putting my attention to what is and not letting what could have or should have affect what is.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. So for me right now, I'm enjoying the what is. And and the what is bringing out a lot more stuff, right? So it's you can't do anything else but smile. So yeah,
I've got 2 last questions for you.
2? Can you imagine? Yeah, go on.
My first one, I heard a rumor that Nigeria owes you money. How true is this, and how long have they been owing you?
At the cost of getting my Nigerian passport revoked, they do owe me.
How much?
So this was from our last qualifiers for the Olympics. I'm still owed around $5,000. If $5,000, if I took inflation into position, so it's roughly around 10 right now. Because this was like 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
13 years ago.
Yeah, 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
Owing you for
or
13
2000
years.
or 2012. Yeah, 2011, I believe, late 2011. Yeah. So
Do you think
I
you'll
was
ever
told,
be paid?
hopefully when they listen to this, someone will send me a check or something.
Send him his check, please.
So hopefully someone will send me my check. I was told to fly back home that my money will be paid to me.
Are they going to pay the ticket?
I'm still waiting. I'm hoping that I get an alert from them to say, yeah, here's your 10,000 because inflation rate has gone up now. So yeah.
Wow.
But unfortunately, I'm not the only person that they owe money.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, not from then. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of players that they do still owe some money from. It's not unheard of.
Wow.
Yeah.
And my last question, what advice do you have to young people who want to get into the world of football?
I'd say enjoy it, because you've got to do it for the right reasons. If you're doing it for the money, for the fame, then you're not going to last long. But if it's something that you truly enjoy, and then that means you can stick by it when it's hard, when things are hard or not. So I think, if it's something that you enjoy, you would stick with it even when things are hard. Because if it isn't, if you don't enjoy it, then if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you wouldn't last long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Danny, for coming all the way down here to the studio.
No problem.
And
Yeah.
okay, sorry. This final part of the show,
Okay.
I've got 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3. You have to pick a number, and whatever you pick, you have to do it. So be very careful.
Can you imagine?
1, 2, or 3.
It's definitely not gonna be 3 because that's a big number. Shall I go to the middle? But I'll pick one.
Number 1. Okay. Number 1. That means you have to rap.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, you're good. All right.
What's number 2? Just for curiosity's sake.
Number 2, you have to sing a song.
And number 3 as well.
Number 3, you have to tell us an embarrassing story. You already picked number 1, so
I'll sit down and see if I can talk my way out of changing it anyway. It's embarrassing. Do I have any embarrassing stories? Do I have any embarrassing? I don't have any embarrassing stories.
you're gonna rap.
Yeah, I'll rap.
You could rap maybe from one of your favorite songs or something.
Yeah, I'll rap.
Ready?
Yeah.
Do you need me to give you a beat or you're good?
No.
Okay. 3, 2. Watch out, Danny Uchechi's about to rap. 3, 2, 1, go.
I've been patiently waiting for the rap for so long. This night is on in this art on so long. And it feels like my flow's been hard for so long.
Hey.
It's my office so. I've been listening to my thing. Destination, my pain. Destination getting the... Yeah, that's me done. Thank you. Yeah, that's me done. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, let me do the sign out.
Yeah, go on, let's do the sign out because that's me done. Can you imagine?
All right, thank you, Danny, for your amazing rap, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
No problem.
Honestly, it's been very, very inspirational because sometimes you're thinking, oh, I'm dealing with this issue and that issue, you know, how do I get out of it? But with everything you've gone through, it's like you've just been becoming stronger and stronger. I don't know how you do it, but like, I don't know how. But honestly, your story is very amazing, very inspirational. And I think it's going to impact a lot of people out there positively and help them, show them that, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. So thank you so, so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely, as usual. Yeah, so not a problem at any time. Hopefully, I mean, like I said, if there are any kids out there or parents that want any advice, I'm happy to talk. So it's, yeah, I've enjoyed it. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're a parent out there or a young person interested in football, just go to the description below and you'd see some contact details for Danny. So hopefully he could answer some of your questions. Don't worry, we'll make sure he does. So thank you for watching. Goodbye. Thank you for making it this far in the video. We really appreciate you for watching. If you have an inspirational story that you'd like us to share on our podcast, please drop us an email. Our email can be found in the description below.